Hi everybody, welcome back. Today this is my third video, but it is my first one with my astrology deck. So I have made a video based on the moon cycle spread with my modern tarot deck, and I also shared the results of a particular card spread that I'd done for myself off camera. So if you haven't already, you can head back into the playlist and check those out. But for now, we're going to do the astrology spread. So essentially, this is like a four-card pull. So what this necessarily entails is that each of the suits within the deck are divided up. So then you've got essentially four mini decks. There is multiple moon cards in this. So what's recommended is that you put one moon card into your major planet and remove the rest. So there are four different areas. So the first question would be around who's your guiding planet right now, so your major planet that's supporting you. The second card is based on the zodiac, so what kind of zodiac traits do you need to channel with the support of your major planet in order to achieve the goal that you've got set or any questions that you actually have. The third one is the asteroid suit. So they are known as the minor supporting planet. So having a minor supporting planet and how it works with your major support. And then we have another suit that's called house, which essentially means what area of your life is this all kind of taking place in. So I am going to, I've already infused my cards with my energy and opened up the deck. So what I'm actually going to do, I'll do it off camera because it takes a little while, but I'm going to divide up the suits and I'll be back and we can get started. Okay, so I've got all four in their respected suits. I've obviously got my notebook as well, and today I am going to obviously shuffle through each. I've already done the moon card pull to be able to put into the planet deck as well. Yeah, so we'll get started. Okay, so I have just asked the cards, but I will repeat it again on camera for you just so that you can kind of see how it's done. So I obviously have already thanked my spirit team and guides for being present. So essentially, as I shuffle through each deck, I am going to ask, what is my major supporting planet right now? Right, that's the one. Okay. What zodiac traits do I need to channel in support of my major supporting planet? There. What is my minor supporting planet right now? And what house or area of my life is this going to be taking place in? Okay. So we're all shuffled up. I am just going to gather up my deck. Okay, I just wanted to tidy up the individual decks and kind of put them back together just purely because it keeps it cleaner. It's easier for me to not kind of get confused. So my major supporting planet right now, I have pulled Mercury. I'm just going to kind of start picking up what I get from the card, and I'll kind of work my way through and do that with every single one. I'll of course check it to make sure. Again, this is a deck that I haven't had as much time and experience really learning as much as my other tarot decks, so this one might take a little bit longer. I'm just going to write down Mercury. So I think what I'm finding with this one is that whilst there's a good mix of like positive and more thought-based kind of vibes coming from this. I kind of feel like in the way that the color scheme works with this, so what I'm getting is that You've got like that real heightened sense of positivity through the sort of upper layer at the top, and you've kind of got more things like maybe areas of, I don't want to say weaknesses, maybe like room for improvement. So those things are sort of more at the bottom. Even though they are on an angle, what I'm getting from this card particularly is that sometimes you can kind of be in the middle, and you can be in the middle and still have those elements of where do I need to work on, and I can feel a lot of positivity coming through. Like that's what I'm sort of getting from it, is that it's establish, like trying to establish a balance. Trying to establish a balance. I'm not sure whether that's just necessarily in terms of positivity or negativity. I think it's more about like a life balance, even finding a life balance. So that could be things like how much time you spend doing housework, and how much time you spend working, and how much time you spend out doing something that makes you feel good, or self-care, or you know, just in all kind of walks of different areas of your life. Like it's about having a really good life balance in every aspect is what I'm kind of getting from this card. Yeah, it's almost like it says end goal is the positivity or the positive outcome, but you're not quite, I wouldn't say like not quite there, but it's like, yeah, take note of this. That's more what I'm getting. Like, take note of this. It's only like a small thing, and it could be like, I know for myself, it's probably more about trusting in myself and having a bit more self-belief and a bit more confidence. So it's almost like, just take note of these things, and what can you do differently to help enhance that potentially. Like, what can you do to enhance that? And I feel like it's about, Mercury's like about enhancing the little things, like, you know, the little things that need, it's not like they're major big things, and if you don't do them the whole world's going to collapse. It's more in terms of an individual thing, like, you know, you will feel better and you'll be able to enjoy this positive outcome if you look at these things. That's kind of what I'm getting from Mercury. I'll just, okay, just wanted to make sure that was right to go, and that was sort of all I got from Mercury, but that's okay. It makes sense to me, because it's kind of the message I've got a couple of times today, so it makes perfect sense to me. Oh my goodness. So the zodiac sign that I need to channel is Ascendant. Now, the last astrology spread I did, I got this card as well, and I already know exactly what this is, because it completely supports what I picked up from Mercury and in previous readings. It's essentially a card to remind yourself to be your authentic you, to really embrace every part of you, and don't apologize for being you. Like, you know, like there's that, you know, what I'm getting from that is like, there's a few little things you need to do to get your confidence up, and we're here to support you because the positivity is there. But this is almost like reaffirming that you can do that, and this is how you can, and this is the energy you need to channel, because in order for you to feel like you're actually achieving those little things you need to work on, you need to channel this energy of Ascendant, because it's asking you to just be you. Be you. Be okay with who you are. Don't apologize for being who you are. Like, I already know what this card represents, so I feel like I don't really need to take notes on it. But yeah, feel okay with who you are. Embrace yourself. And when I say embrace yourself, it's more even the parts of you that, for whatever reason, and we're only human, we all do it with ourselves, but those parts of you that you go, that's not my jam, but sadly that's part of who I am. It could be anything like, if you think about it from a perspective of, you might have been through something as an experience in your past somewhere, whether that's positive, negative, or in between, but there's an impact of what that experience is that comes through in your future, which is essentially, or when I say future, I'm talking more in present tense, following that event, that I don't want to say scars us, but it imprints on us, right? So there's imprints that come through from our experiences in different areas of our life, in different vibes, whether that's positive, negative, or in between, that sometimes they imprint and they stick with us. And even if we do or don't like them, we need to embrace them all. It's being you, because those imprints are what makes you who you are. And this is what this card's asking, is make you who you are. And so that makes perfect sense to me, because the reason I went with that analogy is because that's exactly what I felt, was that there's always going to be those small parts of us that we go, I know I need to work on that, but I'm just finding it really hard to embrace that part of myself, because I know that work needs to be done there. That's what I'm getting. It's not saying love all of you but only focus on the best bits. It's love all of you, embrace all of you, and enjoy the things that make you who you are in every sense of the word. Enjoy the things that you really, really like and that you're really proud of, but embrace and really harness those parts that make you feel a little bit like cringy, like, oh, I don't like that part of me. Well, what can you do to fix that? You know, like, not fix it, but what can you do to be more accepting of it? You need to accept that part of you, because it's still part of you regardless. And that's what this energy of the zodiac is saying, is that you need to embrace all of it. And I know that because that I pulled it, like, I don't know, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and I've pulled it prior. And so I absolutely remember this card, and I just found it really funny. You know, I'm sure you'll probably look at my reaction and go, oh my God, the reaction you had when you pulled that was like, you've seen this before. Yeah, I feel like I don't really need to take notes because I'm already well aware of what that one means. We're going to move on to our next one. All right, who have we got? Eros. I know this one too, because I've pulled this one before. Only once have I pulled it, but I remember it because when it was around a particular question I was asking, and I think when I asked it, I really wasn't sure what part of that I was thinking, because sometimes, you know, when you have a question about something, but you know it could relate to multiple areas, and you're not really sure where the message is that you need to hear and what area that is, that's when I pulled this card. So Eros is talking more about love and romance and building on that. And I, you know, at the time I was kind of like, I'm not interested in that, at all. I'm just not in that place at that time. I was like, hell to the no, because it was kind of, again, parts of me that I was like, I just wish they would go away because they're holding me back. But now it's sort of like embrace them, because you just don't know how to harness and utilize those parts of you that you feel are negative views, or views that you have yourself that you see as negative, but other people in the world might actually not see them like that. So for this card coming through with what I know of this card, and what I'm absolutely feeling with this card, is that it doesn't have to necessarily be love in the sense of being with a romantic partner. Like, it can be about self-love. It can be about, it might sound a bit strange, but what I'm getting is like romanticizing yourself. Like, it's embracing all of you, because, you know, you can sometimes be in a partnership and you'll be kind of like, well, I hate this and I hate this and I hate this about myself. But we never really talk about, well, these are the things that make me me, and I'm really proud of who I am because of these things. These things I'm not really keen on. But that person might say, well, I don't care about those things. I actually think that those things are really admirable, or I respect those experiences. I respect that particular imprint that you've got, for example. You know, like this is kind of I feel like really backing up the ascendant here in kind of saying you've got to embrace those parts of you even if you don't want to. Or no, not if you don't want to, more like if you've never wanted to in the past, now's the time to start learning more about that part of yourself and learning to love that part of yourself, even if for a long period of time that was a part of you that you were like, I just can't. That's perfectly fine. So for me, that's what I'm getting, is that it's more about that self-love, self-care. It's very individualized. It doesn't always have to mean like, you know, if you're in a partnership, you really need to explore all this romantic stuff. It can, if it makes sense to you that that's what you need to do, then absolutely that's for you. But for me, I know with this one particularly, given with what I'm picking up from these ones, is that it's more about embracing those harder parts of me that I find harder to love about myself. You know, and it can also mean for some people, even if you're not with a partner, it could also be symbolizing for some people that now's the time to start looking into that or start exploring that, you know. So there's a couple of different areas that it can be taken, but for me in this reading that I'm doing for myself, it absolutely makes sense. And because I've had a couple of these cards before, I can absolutely feel that what I'm getting from them and what I know of them is there. So same thing, I feel like I don't really need to take notes. It's just those things that for me that I know that I need to remember. All right. The house area of life is the 6th house, and I actually can't remember if I've had this one before or not. It looks familiar, but maybe I've only seen it when I've been looking for something else. This one I kind of feel it's a tricky one because I feel like it's got multiple interconnecting things, but it almost feels, I don't want to say love necessarily, but it feels similar to that, but it also feels like it's coming from somewhere else. And so I'm just going to write down 6th house so I've got it there. It's like I don't know if love, it's not love and it's not lust. It's I can't think of the word, but I'm also getting like the word career as well, or sole purpose, or yeah, I feel, I just heard heart chakra. And the reason I say that is because green can be actually associated with the heart chakra. So there's, I know there's actually 2 colors that can be associated with that. So pink is more about like the unconditional love side, and then the green is more about that really deep connection of the heart chakra, if that makes sense. It probably, if you're aware of that, it might make sense to you. I know this is for me, this reading's for me, but that's sort of what I'm feeling. Is it's like I'm feeling more like heart chakra, and I don't know if maybe the words career and soul purpose are coming from that. And that's why I was sort of like, I'm not sure if it's like love or lust. It's like it's along those lines, but it's not those specific things. Like it's like follow, I'm getting like follow your heart, follow your like emotions potentially. Like it's that's kind of what I'm getting, and I'm not quite sure about emotions as in you need to pay attention more to your emotions, or if it's talking about following your heart and allowing the emotions to kind of take charge sometimes. Because I think sometimes we can do that where we've got this, my head says one thing, my heart says another. Like that's kind of what the vibe I'm getting. It's like, yeah, lead with your heart and not your head is sort of what I'm getting as well. I don't know if that's necessarily accurate. yeah, and then I'm hearing the word trust as well. So I'm assuming that I'm sure when I pull this up, things will probably start to make sense. But until then, I really just want to try and get what I can. Here, relationships. Maybe it could even be that too. Yeah. Is there anything else? Okay. That's okay. So that's what I'm getting from the house card. So I know 100% what ascendant and Eros represent, but I want to just cross-check Mercury and the sixth house, to make sure, just to be able to kind of actually work through why I've been getting what words I've been getting. So I'll be back in a tick. Okay, I'm back. So it was a little bit quicker this time because I only needed to do 2 cards. So the really, really, really interesting thing is Mercury and the 6th house are ruled by each other, essentially, or associated with each other. So I found that quite interesting. So I'll start with the Mercury one, just being that it starts a very good place to start. So what I'd actually talked about was like establishing a balance and a life balance. You know, your end goal is a positive outcome if you take note of these things that you potentially need to work on to get where you're going. And so what I found funny was that Mercury sits in the 3rd and the 6th house, which I've pulled the 6th house today. So that's quite funny. It's an air element and it's also ruled by Gemini and Virgo. Essentially, what Mercury is talking about is about being quite diligent in decision making and decision making, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like major life decisions. It could be anything. It could be like weighing up the pros and cons of something. So making sure that you've really thought about something to make sure that you're confident in your decision moving forward, which would then feed into establishing that balance and that life balance. It's not just like one area of your life. It's kind of going sort of in a big circular motion of everywhere. If you've got balance in each little section, you should feel more balanced, and then you can actually make those decisions easier, might be the right word. And it's also talking about like thought patterns as well. So this part particularly with the thought patterns, which kind of makes sense to one of the last things I wrote, was enjoy the positivity if you do these small things first, which if you've got a positive thought pattern, you will essentially get positive results. If you have a negative thought pattern, you will in turn get negative results. So I guess what it's also saying is sometimes it's okay to have those moments of negative thought patterns. It's just as long as we're aware and do diligent about, okay, well, what are the pros and cons to being in this situation? Yes, I feel negative, but when I've weighed up my pros and cons, I can kind of see I need to be on the positive side. Even though I'm not trying to dismiss what I'm feeling, I need to look at it from a positive perspective, because if I plant the seed of positivity from this experience or whatever it might be, I can move forward, because it also says the end goal is positive, like it is the positive outcome if you focus your energy on the positivity. So that made a lot of sense to me, especially with the Ascendant and Eros coming through. So being that I already am well aware of what they represent and how I've interpreted them for my reading, I'm quite happy to kind of just move on to the last card that I wanted to check over, which was the 6th house. So just a little note. So remember how I said like career, soul purpose, something, heart chakra, you know, like follow your heart, your emotions, all that sort of stuff. It talks about, you know, trust, or what I picked up, sorry, was trust and relationships, but it also talks about health and habits. It's ruled by Mercury. It also has Virgo energy too. And it's essentially work. But again, like that's what I meant by career, soul purpose. Like I couldn't quite articulate exactly what I was getting, but it was like work. it was work, but I wasn't sure whether it was more career, self-purpose, individualism, work. But when you think about work as a whole thing, it can be anything for any person at any time. Work can be anything. So it is work energy, and it's basically talking about being mindful of healthy habits and how, again, how positive and negative attitudes and thought patterns can form if you're in an unhealthy routine or something like that, or you've got unhealthy habits. That looks different for everyone. You may find that you start to slip back into some of those negative patterns. But if you're able to just, I don't want to say course correction because that sounds really like deficit based, but if you're able to just slowly move yourself into a different habit or pattern, the rest kind of follows in that positive pattern, if that makes sense. One of the first lines was get back to work. So that made sense to me of like, okay, what are the things I have to work on? Well, yeah, I've talked about that. The other word that was in there, which I found rather funny, was confidence. I've had confidence come up in every single reading I've done today. This is the third one I've done today, and that's what's come up. So it's interesting, actually, that a lot of this kind of all comes together. And I think, I guess with, like with healthy habits and stuff like that, yes, we need to think with our head, but sometimes we all also have to utilize the emotions of that and kind of say, all right, this is where I'm at with my health. If I don't stop doing this, this is going to happen. Or if I don't start doing this, the outcome's not going to be good. It's about how would that make me feel if it progressed that way. Good, bad, otherwise, whatever. So I think it's more, we know what the head's saying, but the heart needs to, I don't know if you want to call it the heart, but the emotions need to start matching what the head's saying a little bit to say, hey, let's make some changes. I know what that's about. I know what it's about. I'm just not ready to take that leap yet. And I know that's exactly why it's come up, because it's telling me that I need to. But that's okay. Everybody has to do things at their own pace, and sometimes they need a nudge, and other times we just have to let it play out. Yeah, so that was my astrology spread, which I found rather interesting because it's very much reiterating what I've covered in the other two readings that I did today as well. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty happy with that, and I'm feeling very confident, as my notes were saying and as the cards have said, in the fact that I knew exactly what these two cards were, and that they're familiar to me. So I was confident in remembering what they symbolized, where this actually comes in for me, and I was able to just kind of go, I don't need my notebook for this. And that in itself has built another level of confidence, as have the other readings that I've done today. So yeah, but that's it from me today. I've had a really good experience with my astrology cards and my tarot cards today, and I just want to again thank anybody and everybody who's watching this. Thank you for following my journey. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now, and I will see you next time.